Right now, your body is screaming at you to do nothing, and you think that's laziness. But what if I told you that this urge to lie down all day is actually your soul trying to save your life? Alan Watts spent decades studying the human condition, and he discovered something that completely flips our understanding of rest on its head. See, we've been taught that wanting to do nothing means something's wrong with us, that we're broken, that we need to fix ourselves and get back to being productive. But Watts saw through this lie. He understood that when your entire being wants to collapse and do absolutely nothing, that's not a malfunction. That's a message. And today, we're going to decode exactly what your soul is trying to tell you. Let's talk about what's really happening here. You wake up in the morning and instead of feeling energized, you feel this heavy weight pushing down on your chest. The thought of facing another day feels exhausting before you even get out of bed. You scroll through your phone, seeing everyone else seemingly crushing their goals, being productive, building empires. And there you are, wanting nothing more than to pull the covers over your head and disappear into sleep. Society has trained us to see this as weakness. We're told that successful people wake up at 5 in the morning, that they hustle, that they grind, that rest is for the weak, that if you're not constantly moving forward, you're falling behind. This narrative has been drilled into our heads so deeply that we don't even question it anymore. But here's what nobody talks about. This constant pressure to perform, to produce, to achieve has created something Alan Watts called the tyranny of doing. We've become so obsessed with external action that we've completely lost touch with our internal state. We've forgotten how to listen to ourselves. We've forgotten that we're not machines designed for endless output. Your body and mind are trying to communicate something vital. When you feel that overwhelming desire to lie down and do nothing, when every fiber of your being is resisting the grind, when the thought of one more task makes you want to shut down completely, that's not laziness speaking. That's wisdom. That's your deeper intelligence recognizing something your conscious mind refuses to see. Alan Watts understood this better than almost anyone. He saw how Western culture had created this impossible standard where human beings were expected to function like industrial equipment, always on, always producing, always achieving. And he recognized that this was not only unsustainable, but fundamentally inhuman. Let's dig into what Watts actually taught about this. He had this concept he called the wisdom of insecurity. Most people think security comes from constant action, from building walls of achievement around themselves, from never stopping, never resting, always pushing forward. But Watts flipped this completely. He said that real security comes from accepting insecurity, from understanding that life is a flow, not a solid structure you can control through sheer willpower. Think about water for a second. Water doesn't fight gravity. It doesn't resist the path it needs to take. It flows. It finds the easiest route. And in that flow, it's incredibly powerful. It shapes mountains over time. It carves canyons. But it does this through yielding, not through force. Your desire to lie down all day is your being trying to return to its natural state of flow. You've been forcing yourself upstream for so long that your entire system is rebelling. Your soul is saying, stop. Stop fighting. Stop forcing. Stop pretending you're a machine that can run indefinitely without consequence. Watts talked about something he called the backwards law. The idea that the more you chase something, the more it runs away from you. The more you try to force yourself to be productive when your body is screaming for rest, the less productive you actually become. You end up in this exhausted zombie state where you're technically doing things, but nothing of value is actually happening. You're just going through motions, burning energy without purpose. This is where most people get stuck. They recognize they're tired, but instead of listening to that tiredness, They try to override it. They drink more coffee. They create stricter schedules. They beat themselves up mentally, thinking that shame and guilt will somehow motivate them back into action. But this is like trying to drive a car faster when the engine light is flashing red. You're not solving the problem. You're making it worse. Your soul is not trying to make you lazy. That's crucial to understand. The message isn't quit everything and give up on life. The message is much more specific than that. Your soul is trying to tell you that the way you've been living is out of alignment with who you actually are. That you've been running on programs installed by other people, by society, by culture, by expectations that were never yours to begin with. When you feel that deep desire to do nothing, your being is creating space. Space for those false programs to quiet down. Space for your authentic self to emerge. Space for you to remember what you actually want, not what you've been told to want. Watts often spoke about the illusion of the separate self. We walk around thinking we're these isolated units, completely separate from everything around us. And when you believe that lie, life becomes a constant battle. It's you against the world, you against time, you against your own limitations. Every day becomes a fight to prove your worth, to justify your existence, to earn your right to be here. But that's exhausting because it's fundamentally false. You're not separate from the rest of existence. You're not an isolated unit that needs to constantly prove itself. You're an expression of the universe, just like a wave is an expression of the ocean. The wave doesn't need to prove it's part of the ocean. It just is. When you're lying down wanting to do nothing and you stop fighting that impulse, something interesting happens. The mental noise starts to quiet. All those voices telling you what you should be doing, who you should be, what you need to achieve, they start to fade. And in that silence, you can finally hear your actual self. This is what meditation masters have known for thousands of years. That stillness isn't emptiness. Stillness is where truth lives. All the answers you've been frantically searching for out there in the world of action and achievement, they've been waiting for you in the stillness all along. Watts would say that we've confused activity with aliveness. We think that to be truly alive, we need to be constantly doing, achieving, moving, progressing. But watch a cat sometime. A cat can lie in a patch of sunlight for hours, doing absolutely nothing, and it's completely alive, completely present, not worried about productivity, not anxious about the future, just existing fully in the moment. That's what your soul is calling you back to. Not permanent inaction, but presence. The ability to be here now without needing to justify your existence through constant achievement. Here's something else Watts understood that most people miss. Rest isn't the opposite of work. Emptiness isn't the opposite of fullness. They're part of the same cycle. Music isn't just the notes, it's also the silence between the notes. Without that silence, there's no music, just noise. Your life works the same way. Without genuine rest, without periods of true nothingness, there's no real productivity, just frantic activity that leads nowhere. The reason you want to lie down all day is because you haven't truly rested in months, maybe years. You've been in motion, but you haven't been still. And there's a massive difference. You can lie in bed scrolling through social media for hours. That's not rest. That's just different activity. Your mind is still processing information, comparing yourself to others, consuming content, staying in reactive mode. Real rest means disconnecting from input. It means letting your system completely power down. It means giving your mind permission to wander without purpose, to daydream, to process all the information it's been holding without a chance to integrate. Your soul knows you need this. It's been trying to tell you for a long time, but you've been trained to ignore it, to push through, to treat rest like a luxury you'll get to someday when everything is done. But here's the thing Watts understood deeply. Everything is never done. The to-do list never ends. If you wait until everything is finished, before you rest, you'll never rest. The desire to lie down all day isn't your soul telling you to give up. It's your soul telling you to stop abandoning yourself. You've been abandoning your own needs, your own rhythms, your own truth in favor of meeting external demands, and your being has had enough. This is the turning point. This is where everything shifts. The reason this message from your soul feels so overwhelming, the reason the desire to do nothing feels so intense, is because you're at a crossroads. You can keep ignoring this message, keep pushing through, keep treating yourself like a machine that just needs better maintenance. Or you can finally listen. Alan Watts would tell you that this moment, right now, when you feel like you can't go on the way you've been going, this is actually a moment of incredible opportunity, because you can't solve this problem by doing more. You can only solve it by being different. When you finally give yourself permission to rest, really rest, without guilt, without shame, without treating it like failure, something profound happens. All the noise in your head starts to settle. And underneath all that noise, there's clarity, there's knowing, there's a sense of what actually matters to you. See, the reason we avoid real rest is because we're afraid of what we might discover in the silence. We're afraid we might realize we've been chasing the wrong things, that we've been living someone else's life, that the goals we thought were ours were actually just internalized expectations. Real rest forces you to confront truth, and truth can be uncomfortable. But Watts would say that discomfort is the price of authenticity, that you can have a comfortable lie or an uncomfortable truth, but you can't have both. And the soul will always choose truth, even when the ego wants comfort. Your desire to lie down all day is your soul saying, I'm ready for truth now. I'm ready to stop pretending. I'm ready to let go of the performance. I'm ready to discover what's real underneath all the layers of conditioning and expectation. Is the moment, right here, where you decide whether you're going to keep fighting against yourself or whether you're going to surrender to what you actually need. And surrender isn't defeat. Surrender is the beginning of real power. Because you can't access your genuine power while you're fighting against your own nature. So what is your soul actually trying to tell you? Let's bring this all together. When you feel that overwhelming desire to do nothing, to lie down and disconnect from the world's demands, your soul is communicating several vital messages. First, you've been living out of alignment. The life you've been grinding away at isn't the life your authentic self would choose. You've been running programs that don't belong to you. Your soul is creating a crisis to force you to stop and reconsider everything. Second, you need genuine rest, not distraction disguised as rest. You need to power down completely, to give your nervous system a chance to reset, to allow your mind to process and integrate everything it's been holding. This isn't laziness, this is maintenance. This is how human beings are designed to function. Third, stillness contains wisdom that action cannot access. All the answers you've been frantically searching for through constant doing are waiting for you in the quiet. But you have to actually be still to hear them. Not thinking about being still. Not planning to be still later. Actually being still now. Fourth, your worth isn't determined by your productivity. You don't need to earn your right to exist through achievement. You're not here to be a production unit. You're here to be alive, to experience, to grow, to discover who you actually are underneath all the expectations. Fifth, the current path is unsustainable. Your soul knows that if you keep going the way you've been going, something's going to break, and it would rather you choose to change now than be forced to change later through collapse. Alan Watts spent his life trying to wake people up to these truths. He understood that modern culture had created a prison of productivity, and most people were so deep inside it they couldn't even see the walls. The desire to do nothing, to lie down, to stop the constant motion, that's your soul showing you where the exit is. The question now is whether you'll walk through it, whether you'll give yourself permission to stop treating rest like failure and start treating it like the sacred necessity it actually is. Whether you'll listen to your own wisdom instead of the voices that tell you to keep grinding. Because here's what's new that changes everything. You're not broken, you're not lazy, you're not failing, you're waking up. And waking up is uncomfortable because it means seeing things you've been avoiding. But on the other side of that discomfort is a life that actually belongs to you. A life built on your truth, not someone else's expectations. Your soul has been trying to tell you this for a long time. Maybe now you're finally ready to listen. Maybe now you understand that lying down isn't giving up. It's creating space for something real to emerge. Maybe now you see that the most powerful thing you can do is stop doing and start being. The wisdom was always there. Alan Watts just helped us remember how to hear it. And what it's saying is simple. Stop fighting yourself. Stop treating rest like the enemy. Stop believing the lie that your value is measured in output. You're so much more than what you produce. And your soul won't let you forget that anymore. If this shifted something for you, hit subscribe because there's more wisdom where this came from.